Alrighty, everybody, we're back with the truck. Some changes are happening here. Currently, you guys are actually not being filmed on my phone for probably the first video since I started this channel. None of the changes are going to happen in the stupid comedy, not knowing what I'm doing, shooting in the dark. None of that. That won't change at all. But right now, it's a real camera. It's something I've been wanting to try and see if it can potentially make the quality of video better. And I've actually bought a computer now for the sole purpose of doing YouTube things on it. So instead of we're sitting here talking about all that, let's get to work on this thing. Now I'm going to be straight with you here. Currently it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night. My dogs want to be outside. I don't feel like doing this, so we're not going to mess with the fuel tank yet. What I'm going to do instead is we're going to get on the carburetor, because that also does need done. The plan basically, like I've said I think prior to this, is I never put gaskets on it, I just have the riser on it. I have the gaskets, I have a new riser piece, because one of them's missing a little spacer in there, so it needs replaced anyways, because I don't know where the old one is, so let's just put something new in there, know it's right, and be done with it. So we're going to rip that off, bring it on the table. I'm just going to spray out all the orifices. I don't know enough about anything bigger than a single barrel carburetor to adequately know what I'm tearing apart and making sure everything's back together correctly. So I'd rather just make sure the orifices are cleaned out, the carburetor is cleaned, in that aspect at least, so that then when I put it on, it could potentially eliminate a lot of questions. Obviously, I won't know if the needle and seat are good, I won't know if the float's good, I won't know if things are set correctly, but it can at least give me some peace of mind towards it. Plus, I'm taking it off to replace these things. Why not do something about it while I'm there? So, hopefully the time-lapse and stuff works with this new camera, new software, editing software, things I've never used. Hopefully everything goes well there. If it doesn't, we might just jump cut to after the carb's clean. Like I said, this is all new. Hopefully the audio is decent. I don't know. Like I said, there's a bunch of new things going on all at once. Hopefully I can make everything work. Like I said, if not, we'll jump cut stuff. We'll go back to the phone for a little bit. And we'll see what happens. So, bitter batter. Let's get at her. I was thinking to myself, this stuff's all probably just finger tight, because get it right or finger tight. And let's be honest here, I knew it wasn't right, so I'm pretty sure there's only 3 nuts in here if I remember right. That's if I remember right. And I remember right. Let's get the old eater block kind of all sprayed down. So I figured I'd bring you in here and kind of just show you this carburetor a little bit better. She's not perfect. So my biggest concern, first of all, I guess, is the accelerator pump. I mean, she moves, but I bet you it leaks. And this bottom side, I kind of hate how these guys just look so rusty. So I thought about bringing the, what you probably see in the video, I thought about bringing the wire brush out and trying to scrub on it, and I kind of scratched at it with the screwdriver, and it just, nothing really came off. So that really something I don't like. I mean, the inside of these bores, they're not horrid, but they're not fantastic either. But I mean, this surface cleaned up pretty good, really. She's not perfect, but you know, kind of like I normally like to do. I like to be, or attempt to be, self-sufficient with this stuff. I know normally I will open things up, look through them, repair them myself, but this is one of those things where I normally never take anybody's word for the most part when I'm buying something from them, take it at face value. But this is one of those things where I don't know enough to be dangerous even. I mean, you get me any kind of single barrel, I got you. They're simple, they're easy. I don't really want to dive into this one unless there is an issue and I need to. If that happens, I'm perfectly fine digging into it. But for the time being, I figured let's just blow everything out. I'm probably going to use some compressed air later. But see, that's also my other worry is I don't want to blow compressed air in the wrong area. But see, part of the reason I want to run the carb cleaner through everything is because I dumped so much trans fluid, CLR, all that stuff down this carburetor. Because this was the one off of the old engine. I don't know what remnants are still in there, potentially floating around, you know. So, if I get those flushed out, I can at least use this potentially as it is as a base setting for what this thing might need. This was also on here. It's not good, but this way I'll remember. Don't use that one. But that's kind of my thought is this thing might be kind of set close enough to run halfway okay. If that's the case, then I can use that kind of as a base setting to start learning these carburetors. I don't know Edelbrock, I don't know Holley, I don't know any of them. So, and I'm not going to buy brand new and then try to fiddle with that either. That's why I'm just like, this is where I want to start. If I can't figure it out, I'll bug some people I know that do know, have them try to show me something. If they tell me it's junk, I go from there. If it needs a new carb, we'll get a new carb. But I don't believe this one is, but we'll find out. Like I said, I don't know enough about these even to be dangerous, so yeah, if you're wondering what it is, I'm assuming, I can zoom now, guys. How neat's that? That's what it is. I don't know enough, like I said, I don't know anything about carbs, so I'm assuming that's a number that's important. I always thought there was a tag on the side, but I could be wrong there. Like I said, I don't know anything about them. But it says, it says Wesser or Weber or Wedger or what that is on the side of it. But it says that. But those are really the only numbers I can find on it. So, yeah. Now I guess I'll probably take off the old spacer plate. It's not really even a plate. It's like felt almost. But it's like that thick, and you got gaskets on both sides of it. So I'm going to call it a spacer plate. I don't know what it's called. I will say, if there wasn't any tips or anything for me on carburetors, I'm more than that. I just shut my gas lid with my back. I'm all ears to learn more about these things. It's one of those things where I feel like it's probably really intimidating, but also very simple. So right now I'm still at the intimidation factor. So until I get past that, and this thing actually has an issue that comes up and I have to tear it apart and rebuild it, for now I don't plan on it, but we will see what happens in the future. believe I have all of the vacuum leaks currently plugged or routed somewhere. I still obviously don't have the tank in, but I want to make sure nothing funny's happened while this thing's been sitting. For the first time I actually have well, since I tore it apart, I guess, I actually have the throttle cable hooked up, which would mean that for once I can control everything from in the truck, which will be nice. That was more than I really wanted. That's good. Hopefully that filled up the vents. I don't know if the squirters work. I don't know. But let's find out what happens. Main goal there was to, you know, make sure that she'd fire up. And it did just that, that's for sure. I'm not sure why there's all this smoke up here, because I couldn't see any of that from inside the truck. Yeah, so now that we know that everything up here is okay, the idle still seems really, really high. I don't know if that's an idle adjustment, if that's too much air, too much fuel. I have no idea on this. I should be able to get a vacuum gauge of some sort so I can plug that in and see kind of what's going on with it. But for now, I need to get the tank in, because to be honest here, if what am I trying to say here? If I can't get fuel to the engine, it can't run long enough for me to really properly diagnose it. There's no reason for me to not do that. The main issue I wanted to make sure is that when I was bumping with wires and stuff here, that everything still worked. Also, I wonder if the choke could also be stuck on. With that being electric, I don't know. But something else for me to look into once we get the tank in and kind of see how things work. So let's get to that. Alright, so as you saw, that was fun. A few things about all this. So I know in the last video, one of the last ones I put up, I don't remember which, I was talking about the fuel pump didn't work that I got from O'Reilly's. So that one was about an inch longer than this one. This is actually one from AutoZone, and you can't read part number from this far. And that's what she is. All the hookups and everything look right. Now, the only issue I did have is there's two tabs that come down, one on each side. Now, there is a spot in the tank they're supposed to go down into, I believe here and here, but for mine to be orientated correctly, they were over here. This is a reproduction tank, so I don't know if it's a tank issue or if it's a pump issue, but this is about how the pump was sitting in the truck, because then both hoses come up and around, and that's just how they are. The plug-in was right there. So, yeah, this actually took a lot longer than I expected because those two tabs, which I ended up just bending up out of the way, which there's a very thick O-ring underneath here, so hopefully that's thick enough to where it won't leak any fuel, but I'll find out the hard way. So basically I think tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and install the tank. Sorry, I got some stuff going on, so sadly I don't have time to get this in, but for you guys it'll be the next clip, probably me struggling to get this thing underneath the truck and getting it in. So let's get to that. Alrighty everybody, well the fuel tank's in. I actually just tightened it up. Shouldn't be anything in it, so let's see if I turn the key if we can hear it humming. Oh yeah, she's empty, so I can't run it too much, but hopefully I'm in frame halfway well. I'd love to get this truck done today. I really would. But currently, my back is killing me. I'm sorry, it will probably look like a cluster of me trying to get that thing in because my back is hurting right now. So, we'll jump to the next clip. It'll probably be a different day from today, probably next week actually. Today was normally my normal upload day, but you know, since we're taking the time off for the holidays, we'll get there. But yeah, in the words of Mike Tyson, my back is broken. Is it a vertebrae or what? Spinal. So if you don't know that clip, look it up. It's a great watch. But let's go ahead and let's get back to the truck. Well, I don't really remember where I left off, but we have positives and negatives here. Positives are, as you can tell, can't really tell that well. Fuel line's all hooked up, run to the carb. Should even be some fuel in that horrible looking filter. Now for the negatives. The fuel pump is only pumping fuel up here when the key is in start, not when it is on run. And then also, yesterday I was out here messing with this. It kept running, and I'm like, cool, whatever it was doing has stopped. It's because the starter continued to run, which luckily O'Reilly's came in clutch for me. This morning I ripped mine off, went and bugged them, got a new one already. It was something like I could order it at the store close to me and it'd be there by like noon. I was like, well, hell, I can't beat that deal. So O'Reilly's came in great. The throttle linkage is hooked up like it's supposed to be. I think last time I hooked it up, I didn't have this bracket back here on, so it really wasn't doing anything. Figured out which wires go to the actual choke. I've got most of the vacuum lines hooked up. Might have said that last time. Don't really remember. But anyways, I'm gonna hop in the truck and we'll have a little chat. So where do we go now with this truck? Well, clearly we have some form of electrical issue of power, the pump not being fully powered. There are a couple different avenues that I could potentially chase down with this, but I think I have it narrowed down to two. One being the oil pressure switch, which does have power that runs through it. I believe somehow it runs power through to the solenoid that runs the fuel pump. So with that being said, it could be that sensor isn't reading oil pressure, which one reason I would possibly believe that is because inside the truck I have not seen the oil pressure raise yet either. But I got to pull that and test it. The only way I know how to, I think, is to put your positive on the terminal, negative on the body of it, put some air through it and see if the, I think, ohms change or resistance changes, something like that. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to do, probably in the next video. I feel like this is getting kind of long. And if that ends up being good, I don't know of a great way to test the wire that comes out of it other than possibly doing continuity through the wire that runs up to the relay. I guess in my eyes, if I have continuity, I should have resistance, could possibly ohms it out, but I don't really know if that's really a necessity there. And if all that stuff checks out, I have one of two other avenues to look at. Either my ignition here is bad, which wouldn't surprise me because there is a lot of slop in that, and maybe when it's pulling back, it's pulling it past the run of the piece the cable runs on. And if that is the case, then clearly then the ignition needs replaced. Which, if both of these parts are bad, luckily they're both pretty cheap. I actually picked up the ignition while I was at O'Reilly's today because they had one in stock. I was actually very doubtful that they would, however, they did have one. Sorry, my voice is a little bit gravelly. Like I said, I've been under the weather, and I've actually been working on this thing for maybe a month off and on, just whenever I get a chance. But yet again, if it's not the ignition and it's not the sensor, that would sadly mean that it would be the oil pump. The one thing that I wanted to replace in the engine that I did not replace. So now what I'm also looking into is getting a priming tool, so that then I can actually prime the oil system, know that that's not the issue, and I hope that's not the issue, because if it is, I'll be buying a third pan gasket and learning to see if I can drop the pan in the truck or not, which is what I really didn't want to do, because it'd be a lot easier to do that when the engine was out, but that's just kind of the way things are falling together, sadly. So that's kind of where we're at, to where I'm going to end this video here. Like I said, I think it's getting kind of long. So I really would like to, next video, go ahead and test all those different options and avenues and see what happens. This isn't to say this was a bad ordeal. I mean, I've got a new tank in. I've got a new sending unit in. I know that it sends fuel. I know the fuel gauge up here works. Those are all positives. Like I said, I don't know if the temp works. I don't know if the charge voltage part of it works. I don't know if the oil sensor up here works. However, I know I can get fuel. I know that I have a running engine. I know that for the most part the ignition system works. So like I said, for this truck being a sitting truck, non-running when I got it, I think a lot of people would see this as a big loss, but there's a lot of small victories here that hopefully will add up in the end. Just like a lot of projects with big things. The smallest items take up 90% of the work, or 90% of the time. So, the big things, they're the quick 10%, like getting the engine out and getting the engine in. That was a quick ordeal there. But it's the monotonous little things that are going to take us the most time. And honestly, my original plan for this is kind of why it took longer to get a video out than I wanted to, is because it's like, I want to make this thing run before the end of this video. But when the starter kept running and it made a very violent sound. I think the flex plate is okay, but it kind of brought me back down to earth to, you've got no reason to hurry this project. Take your time, do things right. Let's make sure that that I'm not going to screw up a good engine, whether it's lack of an oil pump or if it's just a pressure switch. If that's all that it is, that's great, I guess. I mean, I have a parts engine that has one on it, so that'll probably be the one that I test first. If that one tests good, I'll probably just throw it on this one. Then I'll make sure there's continuity in the wire while everything is disconnected. And if there is, all the way up to the relay spot, maybe I got a bad relay then suddenly somehow. I don't know what I ever did to potentially make it bad, but diagnostics. Travel down the road and see what happens, and maybe you'll hit a dead end, or maybe you'll keep going. But oh yeah, my battery's not hooked up. I was gonna see if there's a CD in this old CD player that doesn't have a faceplate on it. But I think we're gonna call it here before I try rushing something to get a video done and ruin a good engine and make my life a lot harder. Might still be another week or two before I can get this video up, but we'll see. You guys don't even know when this is being recorded, so that's a positive. So, with all that being said, thanks for watching. I've got to get a starter back in this thing now. I probably won't video that. And like I said, I already have the ignition, but I'm not sold on that. A lot of people that I was talking to kind of think it's the ignition, and at first I did too, until I realized that the pressure sensor actually does have a lot to do with this. And that kind of is what got me more than anything, because I believe when you turn the key to start, it bypasses that, because clearly when you start a vehicle cold, there might not be any oil pressure built up at all if it's been sitting for an elongated period of time. And once it reads no pressure, then it quits sending fuel as a safety part for the vehicle itself, which is kind of why I'm leaning more towards that. But like I said, I was at the parts store, they had the part, why not get it and be safe? I can always return it. So I think we're going to end her here. So thanks for watching, everybody. Till the next one.